I'm Anil Kumar, sharing with you some questions from the previous test paper. The question here is, the demand function of a product is P of x equal to minus 4x plus 42.5, where x is the quantity sold in thousands and P is the price in dollars. The cost of production, C of x, is equal to 8.8x plus 54.4. Find the break-even quantity. That's the question for you. Let us first understand few terms here. We are given demand function, right? So we are given demand function. We are given cost. And what are we saying? We are saying X is the quantity sold in thousands and P is the price. So this demand function basically is the price, right? P is the price in dollars. The cost is given to us. Find break-even point. Now the question is, what is break-even point? Now let's try to understand that part first. So we'll understand what is break-even point and then move forward. I'm writing point, okay. Break-even point. So break-even point is somewhere in the business where revenue is equal to cost. So at break-even point, important thing is revenue equals to cost, right? That is break-even point. So whatever investment has been done, by selling products, you get that much of money, and so you break even. That's the whole concept. Now, how do we find revenue? Revenue you will get by selling the items, correct? So when you sell at some price X number of items, then you get revenue. So revenue is basically equal to price times the number of items sold. That means X times P of X. That is the revenue, right? Now we know the demand function. And we know what X is. X is quantity sold in thousands. We know the cost, and therefore we can now solve the question. I hope now you can pause the video and answer the question. So let's write down revenue is equal to cost. That gives us break-even point. And as we have seen, revenue is X times P of X. So we'll multiply this term by X, which is minus 4x plus 42.5. Do you see that? So that gives you revenue. We already know the cost. Cost is 8.8x plus 55.4. So for break-even point, so let's rewrite break-even point. So for break-even point, the cost and revenue should be same, right? So we have the revenue is X times minus 4x plus 42.5. That should be equal to the cost, which is 8.8x plus 55.4, correct? So that is the concept which I'm sharing with you. You should first understand this and then solve the question, right? So I hope we are in a good position to solve the question now. So that is the equation we are solving. So let me solve it on the right side. Okay. So we have already discussed about demand function and cost, and we have this area to work with. Let me expand this. We have minus 4x squared plus 42.5x equal to 8.8x plus 55.4. Let's bring all the terms to one side. Keeping this positive is important. So we'll take this to the right side. So we have 4x squared. Taking this to right is minus 42.5x. Here we have plus 8.8x and we have plus 55.4, right? So we have 4x squared. Let's combine these two. Let's use the calculator. We'll ultimately need it. So it is 8.8 minus 42.5. In decimals, it is minus 33.7x, and then we have a number 55.4. Now that is our quadratic function. So we can use the quadratic formula to find the value of x. So x is equals to, the formula is minus p, which is minus of this. That gives us 33.7 plus minus square root of minus 33.7 square minus 4ac. That means 4 times a is 4 for us, and c is 55.4, right? So that becomes within square root divided by 2 times a, which is 4. Correct? So that is what we get. Now we can use the calculator to evaluate this answer. So first let's figure out what's there in the square root. So minus becomes positive when you square. So we have square root, and within square root, let me write down 33.7 square, and then we have minus 4 times 4 times 4 times 55.4. Correct? This is all within the square root, and let's calculate this equal to what? It gives me 15.78. So we have 33.7 plus minus 15.7. Let me write this as 9 over 8, right? So we get two possible values of x in this particular case. Let's find out both and write them down, correct? So one with plus value, the other one with minus. So we'll do 33.7 plus 15.79 divided by 8 as one of the answers. In decimals, it is 6.186. The other one is 33.7 minus 15.79 divided by 8, which gives us in decimals 2.23. We could round it to 4. Okay. So that is what we get as x values. Now let's look into the question. We could actually write the third decimal place. We could write 238 also, okay, or 239, doesn't matter. X is the quantity sold in thousands. You see, X is a quantity sold in thousands, right? So many thousand pieces. The demand function of product where X is the quantity sold in thousand, P is the price in dollars, cost is, of course, in dollars, find break-even quantity, right? So the break-even quantity, we have two options, right? So the answer is either it could be 6186 or it could be 2238, right? So multiplying each by 1000, since X is the value in thousands, right? So many thousands. Or you could say times 1000. Is it okay? So you can also write 6.186 thousand is the value of X. So these two values will give us the quantity which should be produced to break even. So of course, whenever we have two quantities, we prefer the lower one, right? So when we produce around 2,250, for example, rounding up, we get the break-even point, right? But I hope from this video you learn how to find revenue when you're given the demand function. So revenue is demand function times X, the items sold, right? So let's write down again, revenue equals to demand times, okay, let me write in brackets, demand times quantity sold, right? So number of items produced, most of the case, produced or sold. We are assuming whatever is produced is being sold, right? So number of items will give us the revenue. And for any break-even point, cost and revenue should be same. So that is the base for solving such a question. I'm Anil Kumar, and I hope that helps. Thank you, and all the best.